Well, yeah, let's start with the aim. The aim is to define a path for the evolution of the technology for fiber networks. Essentially, we started the ISG FSG with the aim to try to provide some glue in the standards that define fixed networks and fiber networks in particular, because we found there was a lack of coherence, and not an absolute lack, but some lack of coherence, and the need for some sync between the activities, so very well known and important and absolutely doing great job groups that are around the world, like the BBF, like ITU itself, like the IEEE, and so on and so forth. That's a big difference with what happens in the mobile world, where we have essentially one entity that is doing everything, plus some other that do so the technical aspects are done in 3GPP, and then there are some other groups like the ITU that gives the eventual final status of specifications that are worldwide specifications, like the 3G commercial side that is taken care of outside ITU and outside 3GPP, and the radio specifications that are in ITUR. So, but everyone does a little bit of the job, and it is well coherently handled. While for the fixed networks, the excellent work done in different groups sometimes lacks this coherence, and that's why FIG ISG FIG was created, to try to get the best from everyone and try to sync a bit things, providing an overall picture of the fiber networks. So sorry for taking a bit long for this, but I believe it's always worth reminding when we speak about what ISG FIG is doing. So we already defined the first generation of specifications, at least the core set of those. We are adding and working at more specifications, but we needed to define a way forward for the coming time, when we will finalize also the second generation of the specification. The second release, we will have a way forward defined, which we did with this white paper, where we collected a lot of good ideas from the industry, and of course this is a very good basis to move ahead. So that's essentially why we wanted to do that, to guarantee a smooth evolution of the specifications once we have finalized the fifth generation for fixed networks. That's essentially it. And what is the content of the fifth generation? Of the 5G advanced. We collected, as I said, a lot of good ideas. What the real fifth generation will be, the fifth generation advanced will be, it is to be discussed, collecting use cases and trying to define what the needed changes in the technology are. But we identified some directions where we would like to move to, expanding the vision that was given with that has been given and is being given with the first generation with the fifth generation, that is the first release of specifications of ISG FSG. And so that's the essential thing, moving to other directions, like making applications like tactile internet or other very time-sensitive industrial applications, like even in car production. You need the RTT very, very short, otherwise you can do very bad things, and essentially the production chain won't work. So making the network quicker and allowing for total round trip times very, very small is an essential point. Then trying to grow also in the direction of being able to support visualization, real-time visualization and sensing. So adding, again, it is real-time applications, but with the capability to transport information that is beyond the information that is normally transported on the network at the moment. Plus also trying to reduce the time, the energy consumption, the energy needed, which is a dramatic requirement for the increase of the performance of the network that has to be accompanied by a decrease in the energy needed, at least the energy per unit per unit of information transported. Otherwise, it would not be feasible. And so these new goals, new directions of exploration are adding on top of the old identified directions of improvement that were just a faster network, computing awareness, and for providing what we call GRE for a smarter network, and a deeper reach into the near to the end user, whether it is a person or a machine for IoT applications. Well, not at all. As I was saying before, FIG, the fifth generation, is still in progress. We have done completed the first release, but then there are new documents that are coming in addressing side aspects that have not been included in the first release so far. And part of them will be, let's say, surrounding material that you can exploit maybe independently of the specific generation, that they can address specific applications like industrial PON, like service to the end users. And for example, we completed recently, well, it was some months ago, we completed the end-to-end management of the network, which is an important aspect, not only, so it goes together with the architecture to build the complete view. And we have more identified topics that we will develop for the existing generation, the fifth generation, as is in the coming time. So there will still be a progress and a completion of the 5G for fixed networks, but the 5th generation advanced will follow up, and it was very important to, as I said before, to start defining where the evolution will be, because in that way you also complete and add to the existing specifications what is needed to allow a smooth transition, and not a dramatic change of technology or a revolution at the level of the architecture of the network. That's very important if you want to guarantee compatibility and a smooth evolution, as I said, and a market chance that wouldn't be there if we were to change every time everything. Then it would be much more difficult to make the way to the market for the products you define. Because the demand from the users becomes more in the area of certain applications that are requiring, for example, better access speed, but also at the point better transport network speeds. So we have to move to the 50 G in the access, but we also have to move in the hundreds of gigabits that characterize the trunk networks going towards the 800 gig per second, and allow a very good let's say coherent movement. This enables new applications, and also the network can become a very important let's say tool for sensing, checking the characteristics of your fiber. You can, for example, deduct what the conditions in temperature and in let's say environmental in the environmental regard are in remote locations that otherwise it would be difficult to check. It would be expensive to check. So all these kind of applications are very interesting for the industry, for example, and embedding them in the existing networks is a very good way to merge the different needs of different businesses. So you have a normal communication network where you transport information, but also you use the network for example, as I said, sensing the environmental conditions in certain locations where the network goes through. For example, that's very for oil pipes or these kind of things, or for motorways, or for whatever other kind of things are very important aspects. Plus, enhancing the applications and the services offered to the end users, both for industrial or business users, or for the normal, let's say, domestic applications of fiber connections. And so enhancing the characteristics of the video applications to make it possible not only to enjoy for entertainment your access, but also use your network for better quality meetings, better quality interactions, for making work at home something more viable and with very high performances. and more new, for example, applications for where a lot of bandwidth is required, but also very good performance in terms of delay, in terms of round trip time, then those require an improvement in the network. Not last, all these improvements also require some improvements at the level of the cost of the devices. And that's something we started addressing already with the F5G, the plain F5G, if you want, where we were looking also at the requirements and the possibilities to reduce the requirements for certain parts of the network, certain devices, for example, in the access network, where transceivers are now very high profile and high cost, making them less costly, but nevertheless performing, would mean to make the services of the fiber networks accessible to a wider number of customers, and reducing in turn even more the cost of the technology. Well, yeah, in fact, I already gave using it for the rest of my my thoughts as a basis for the rest of my thoughts. I used a lot of the characteristics that are the most the ones that have been identified as the most important. There are really a large number of those characteristics, for example, enhancing the reliability of the fiber networks and the access network, and mostly making the network the more usable for the industry. That's essential, without going to specific and more costly technologies that are developed on a custom profile, and instead of being off-the-shelf technologies. Moving in that direction implies to add a lot of small enhancements or big enhancements sometimes, but anyway, distributed and everywhere. So essentially, if I may say, probably the best thing is to invite those who are interested to go and download the white paper from the ETSI website. White papers are, and all documents on ETSI website are totally free, and you don't need to be registered in any way. You can just access this information. So the F5G advanced white paper is available, and you can go through the details. It's a big document, actually, of 40 pages, which is rich in discussions about many aspects. Of course, also the management, enhancing the technology implies the fact that also the control technology, also the way you manage the network, have to evolve, and this is creating the request for a big change in terms of change that looks at many details, and these details will have to be approached and solved and improved. So, for example, addressing how you split the functionalities in the network, and how your architecture, in fact, is evolving, might allow better services and better speed and better round trip delay, also influencing the cost of your deployments. And all these aspects are in the focus. In fact, bandwidth is maybe the most trivial, even if important part. There are other details that require an evolution in the thought about and how we consider the network, not just a way to move bits, but a way to really focus on the information, what information needs to be moved, and what are the characteristics required by the different applications. And remotizing, making remote the control of many things implies an enhancement of not only of the speed in general, because the amount of information moved around will be higher with more details described in these information flows, but also it has to be moved more efficiently and more in a very much timely way, in a way that the certain applications requiring very short reactions, for example, from the devices or even the people involved. For example, let's think of remote surgery. These applications indeed require very, very short reaction times, and you cannot think of having them when your time is your round trip time is or the delay is tens of milliseconds. You have to go down towards the millisecond or even lower for some of them, and that's the real challenge.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time today, Luca.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure to have this chance to give some information about what ISG FSG is doing.